Let me repeat myself. I am not the princess. I am the princess's head maid, Esme.
Esme's voice was calm and unwavering. She sat atop the soaring peak of Mount of Gold, the hem of her ceremonial gown torn with a gaping rip. In her hand, she tightly clutched a piece of fabric she hadn't had time to put away, a foot-wiping cloth used in the dressing room. Facing her was Ostos, a young red dragon. His molten gold eyes were filled with confusion and a trace of frustrated indignation from having caught the wrong person. His nostrils flared, and the hot breath he exhaled carried the scent of sulfur and, well, slightly stale air, which blew a few strands of Esme's hair into disarray. He impatiently poked at a tattered, bent little booklet on the ground with one claw. The booklet's crooked title read, Princess Capture Protocol Handbook, Illustrated and Annotated Edition.
Impossible.
Ostos's roar echoed through the mountain cave, dislodging ash from the ceiling.
Chapter 3, Section 1 clearly states, target traits, resides in the castle, blonde hair, blue eyes, wears a glittering princess gown. 3 out of 3, you're the princess.
He emphatically pointed a claw at the manual's illustration of a princess sample image, which looked like it had been drawn by a very enthusiastic 5-year-old with crayons. Esme inhaled resignedly. She exhaled, expression calm, and spoke with the tone of someone correcting a factual error during a very boring staff meeting.
Sir, your manual may need updating, or at the very least, a more reliable author.
She adjusted her glasses.
Princess Cartrella is choosing a gown for tonight's Holy Light banquet. My job is trying on all the options for her. After all, changing into 100 gowns is hardly efficient for a real princess.
For the first time, the giant dragon Ostos wore an expression that could only be described as deeply embarrassed. The dragon looked down again at the manual, then back up at the woman who called herself Head Maid, her gaze sharp and composed. For the first time, Ostos the Red Dragon began to seriously doubt the accuracy of the official capture manual he had paid 3 silver coins for at the black market. Ostos was young by dragon standards, and this was his first time attempting a princess capture. He hadn't had much interaction with humans, and naturally, the manual hadn't mentioned what to do in this situation. He tried to smooth things over, casually sweeping some coins and dust aside with his wing.
It's all the same.
Ostos tried to salvage his dignity. He deliberately swept up a pile of gold coins and ash with his tail and declared,
Let the king trade gold for it. I demand your nation's most valuable treasure.
The maid thought of the king's stingy nature and calmly analyzed.
I don't think the king would trade a treasure for a head maid. No, he might not even be willing to offer a single coin. At most, he'd send a few knights, just to save face.
Ostos blinked. He had never imagined a situation like this. Was it really a mistake? What happened? Let's rewind to a few moments earlier. Holy horns were blaring in the royal palace. It was peak chaos. The ballroom was in a complete frenzy, yet in the center of the dance floor stood Esme, giving calm instructions like a conductor of an orchestra before a grand performance. Then, suddenly, the wind swept away the napkins and screams. Esme felt a sudden pull at her waist as her whole body was lifted into the air. All around her were the thunderous roars of the dragon and the palace lights below shrinking rapidly. In the chaos, the only thing she managed to grab was the jangling set of multi-purpose keys and cleaning tools she always kept at her waist.
Finally, noble Princess Cartrella.
A booming voice echoed from above.
You shall be the best trophy of Ostos the Red.
Esme opened her mouth, trying to explain she was not the princess. But just as the words were about to come out, a whoosh of wind sucked the breath from her lungs, and everything spun in a dizzying whirl. With a sudden whoomp, she was tossed into a pile of treasure, jewels, gold, and various glittering objects, all crammed into a massive dragon cave. Only after Ostos had soared far from the kingdom did Esme begin to take in her surroundings. She picked herself up from a pile of slippery gold coins, blinking as moonlight poured in from the cracked roof of the cave. The treasures, clearly gathered over millennia, were coated in equally ancient layers of dust and grime.
Oh my gosh.
She muttered, horrified.
This dragon clearly has no idea how to organize a hoard.
Thus, former head maid Esme, afflicted with severe obsessive organization disorder, had her professional instincts kick in and began categorizing and organizing the dragon's hoard. When Ostos the Red returned to his lair, dragging along the enormous antlers of a rock deer, he was filled with satisfaction, until he saw what awaited him inside. And then, he was stunned. The once chaotic and cluttered cave had undergone a miraculous transformation. Every piece of treasure had been sorted by category and market value, each type neatly arranged in its own designated area. The gleaming gold coins reflected a soft radiance, lighting up the entire cave with a gentle brilliance. Ostos never even knew his coins could shine that much. In that moment, his heart pounded at a frequency he had never experienced before. Not out of greed, but out of a profound awe, unlike anything he had ever felt. Meanwhile, the fireworks of the Holy Light Festival still sparkled above the royal palace, and the banquet hall had descended into utter chaos. King Alfred thundered down from the shattered rooftop balcony.
"My Cartrella! My poor daughter!"
he cried, clutching the edge of the gem-studded throne.
"Quick! Summon all the knights! Put out a royal bounty! That damn red dragon, I'll—"
A royal guard rushed over and whispered in the king's ear.
Your Majesty, Princess Cartrella is safe. The one taken was her headmaid, Esme.
The king froze for a second, then let out a relieved sigh.
"Thank the heavens!"
he muttered under his breath. Then, quickly putting on a somber face, he added sternly,
What a tragic loss. Esme's fate is unfortunate indeed."
To save face for the kingdom, he turned to a line of knights and said,
"Take a squad to scout the mountain passes, patrol near the summit, and be sure to demonstrate the kingdom's strength. Show the people that we deeply care about their safety. Understood? Just act concerned. Whatever you do, don't actually fight the dragon."
What? The dragon took Esme?
Cartrella nearly dropped her teacup.
Was he blind? I'm the leading lady of this story. How could he choose my maid over me?
This was supposed to be her fairy tale moment. How could the heroic rescue arc start off by skipping her entirely? Back in the dragon's cave, things were far less dramatic. Ostos and Esme had spent the past few days in a peaceful truce. The enormous dragon kept mostly to one corner, curled up to reduce his intimidating size. He accidentally flicked his tail and messed up Esme's carefully organized coin piles. Then she let him stay at the corner. He now sneakily watching the human sorting coins. After hesitating for a moment, he finally spoke up.
It's Esme. What's wrong, sir?
That's my bed.
He pointed at the scattered pile of gold coins with his tail.
Don't put them away. I had a hard time finding materials this comfortable.
So, you collect treasure just to sleep on it?
Not entirely. Dragons naturally like shiny, sparkly things, but mostly, gold is firm yet soft enough. Lying on it feels really nice.
She eyed Ostos's thick scales. Maybe, for dragons, sleeping on coins felt like a featherbed. Esme dusted off her hands and turned to him.
I'd like to go down the mountain.
What?
Ostos jolted upright.
You can't leave. I mean, I haven't even repaid you. All this treasure, surely it's more than what that stingy little kingdom could ever offer you.
Ostos has never been this satisfied with a human before. Who could resist a human who not only cleans the dragon's lair top to bottom, but also gives him scale care spa treatments?
I just need to go down the mountain to pick up a few things. I've run out of daily supplies and cleaning tools.
Esme said with a smile. Ostos let out a sigh of relief, then hurriedly said,
Yes, go ahead. And while you're at it, buy more of that. That thing that makes the air in my mouth feel cool and fresh.
That would be the oral freshener. Helps keep your breath clean and promotes dental health.
Esme replied.
Yes, I'll get more. How about I fly you there? It's faster and I can carry more supplies.
And so, Esme climbed onto the dragon's back and flew toward the nearest town. It looked almost like a relaxing carriage ride. If the carriage happened to be a gigantic red dragon with wings the size of sailboats and breath capable of starting wildfires on a whim. Oh, and the passenger. A maid so calm she might as well have been on her way to afternoon tea. Esme made Ostos wait outside while she went straight into the market. She quickly picked up rumors from the local town. Apparently, the kingdom had already sent knights after the abducted princess's maid. But from the looks of it, the knights were lounging outside a tavern, lazily sunbathing. Esme let out a quiet sigh, tinged with a trace of bitterness and a familiar loneliness. As she had expected, the kingdom wouldn't waste real effort or resources to save her. This was all just for royal family's face. But perhaps, just perhaps, this was an opportunity. With this unexpected freedom, a vast world lay ahead. And beside her, a potentially very powerful partner.
Ostos, what do you think?
She said casually, just like starting a idly small talk.
Have you ever considered using some more legitimate ways to make money?
Legitimate? Making money?
Ostos blinked, his giant dragon brain struggling to process the unfamiliar words.
You mean like those dwarves who dig stuff up all day? Ah, so annoying.
Esme stepped closer, her voice carrying a kind of magical confidence.
With your one-of-a-kind abilities, combined with my organizational planning, we could even start a cleaning company. I truly believe that with you as our brand ambassador, the orders would never stop rolling in.
She paused deliberately, noticing how Ostos's golden dragon eyes had widened with curiosity.
For example,
She said, pausing again with intent.
the dwarves down in the Mountain Kingdom have an ancestral forge. The furnace walls are caked with centuries of soot, so thick that ordinary methods can't clean it anymore. Rumor has it it's been building up for several hundred years. They're desperate to get it cleaned and willing to pay a huge sum for someone who can get the job done.
This was the newest gossip she'd just overheard in town. Esme said,
I'll prepare the cleaning solution and you can use your dragon fire to melt away the centuries of grime from those furnace walls, quick and spotless. I'll negotiate the contract and we split the profits 50-50.
Ostos pictured the dwarves' jaws dropping, and then reverently offering up piles of shimmering silver coins. His heart practically burst with joy. This was way more profitable than kidnapping a princess.
Deal!
Ostos roared, leaping to his feet and whipping up a powerful gust of wind.
When do we go? I'm already prepared.
A few days later, in the deepest forge of the Dwarven Kingdom, the heat was blistering. King Thorin of the dwarves and his most skilled craftsmen stood before the furnaces, frowning anxiously at the soot-caked walls that hadn't been cleaned in centuries, belching poisonous smoke. Esme poured in her custom cleaning solution. Ostos lined up and blasted precise jets of fire. In an instant, all the hardened black grime that had built up over hundreds of years vaporized. 3 days later, the entire forge was completely renewed.
It's a miracle! A miracle from the gods!
The Dwarf King shouted, trembling with excitement. He not only paid double the promised fee in a chest filled with ultra-pure silver, rare rubies, and garnets, but also offered the rights to a small volcanic crystal mine for the next decade as a long-term maintenance retainer. Ostus's eyes sparkled. For the first time, he was making a fortune by using his actual skills, legally, clean money, endless business, gleaming riches. He lowered his head to glance at the woman beside him, Esme, now faintly dusted with silver powder. The setting sun streamed through the now spotless furnace walls, bathing her in golden light, turning her and the sparkling silver into a radiant gold glow.
This is just the beginning,
Esme said. She had already lined up their next job, a commission from the elves. An ancient tree in their sacred grove was in dire need of moss removal and decontamination services. And so, Claw and Shine Cleaning Co. officially launched. Orders poured in like snowflakes from the north. Deep moss removal from ancient elven trees, disinfecting the slime-infested sewer systems of wealthy merchants, even organizing a cursed archive full of unstable magical artifacts for a reclusive old witch. Business was booming. Claw and Shine became an overnight sensation. Ostos, once known as the dragon who botched a royal kidnapping, now proudly bore the title of co-founder and brand ambassador of the most reputable cross-species cleaning company in the kingdom. Esme handled logistics, scheduling, and customer satisfaction. Ostos was in charge of safety, transportation, and public relations. His face now appeared in magical ad scrolls across the land. The royal knights, meanwhile, hadn't even made it halfway up the mountain. By the time they'd looped around twice at the base, Esme's business was already thriving. Princess Cartrella, however, secretly sent a personal elite squad to investigate the cave. But by the time they arrived, the scene they found was clean, immaculately clean. Esme was crouched beside a talking enchanted crystal, saying sweetly,
Hello, Claw and Shine customer service. Please make your reservation 1 week in advance for Citadel maintenance.
Behind her, Ostos, the once mighty dragon, was curled lazily around a warm stone, holding a brush in one claw and muttering,
Esme, I finished restoring the elf's alchemy set, and even gave it a protective enchantment.
The knights stood frozen, jaws slack, swords slipping from their hands. Ostos finally noticed them. He blinked lazily, let out a puff of polite fire, and sent a small tornado spinning toward them. With a flick of his tail, he cheerfully launched the entire group back down the mountain. He chuckled. Now that my business is booming, days are cozy and profits are soaring, no one can take away my business partner.
Ah, why? I wanted to be kidnapped by a dragon.
Princess Cartrella buried her face in her pillow, letting out a long and dramatic wail. The knights had just returned to report that the dragon lair was peaceful, and the hostage was thriving.
Got it.
Princess Cartrella jumped off her bed, bare feet tapping on the cold tiles.
There may be no dragon for me, but I have money.
A few days later, a lavishly decorated letter bearing the princess's personal seal arrived at the dragon's lair. It was a commission request. Princess Cartrella wanted Claw and Shine to clean the castle walls and gardens, and she was willing to pay handsomely, in any form of compensation.
Should we go?
Ostos asked her with a sly grin. Perhaps this was an opportunity. Esme thought to herself, so far, most of their clients had been dwarves and elves. The human kingdoms had heard of their name, but due to the bad reputation of evil dragons, no one had dared to entrust them with anything. But if they could get the royal family's endorsement and publicity, it would certainly do wonders for the company's reputation.
Of course, we should go check it out.
Esme smiled. She was already familiar with the royal castle, and now with a dragon by her side, the job would be a breeze. When Esme and Ostos arrived at the palace with their professional cleaning team, people looked on in fear and curiosity. One by one, they turned their respectful gazes toward Esme, whispering in awe. Miss Esme really is just as amazing as always. Princess Cartrella, however, was excitedly rushing about, while Esme calmly pointed toward the peacefully sunbathing, mild-tempered dragon. The diligent dwarven staff, efficient like ants, worked through the gardens, trimming hedges. Ostos lay lazily in the center of the garden, basking in the sun and releasing just the tiniest hint of dragon presence. Just enough to scare away every single buzzing insect without lifting a claw. The garden was left with nothing but the fresh scent of flowers and sunlight. The princess praised the results repeatedly.
1,000,000 times better than magical bug spray, and it's natural, non-toxic. The whole castle feels refreshed. Even the darkest corners now smell of polished sunshine and lemon balm.
Cartrella was utterly pleased. With the royal family's endorsement, human orders flooded in like snowflakes. Deep cleaning private prayer halls, artifact sanctuaries,
Take it.
vault sanitization and anti-humidity treatments,
Take it.
banquet halls trashed after noble galas.
Take it.
Even neighboring kingdoms began sending inquiries for quotes. The name Claw and Shine Cleaning Company had spread far and wide across the continent. Their services had become more than just cleaning. They were now synonymous with efficiency, professionalism, reliability, and even miracles. As the sun set, Ostos carried Esme back to Cliff Peak after a day's work. Esme rested against the dragon's warm, hard-scaled neck, gazing out over the swirling mist below, the mountain ridges fading into the distance, and the tiny silhouette of the royal palace far away on the horizon.
Esme,
Ostos's voice drifted through the wind. Not booming, but gentle.
next time we take a job in the human kingdom, should we take a little detour to look around?
Esme smiled and replied.
No need, Mr. Ostos. Right here.
She patted the dragon's neck.
I really like my life now.
As a child, she had dreamed of becoming an adventurer, traveling the world. And now, it seemed that dream had come true, just in a different way. Decades later, Princess Cartrella was crowned queen. At her grand coronation ceremony, with envoys and tribal elders from all over the continent in attendance, the queen herself placed special medals onto the chests of the two legendary founders. She awarded Esme the title Radiance of the Realm, and Ostos the title Distinguished Foreign Investor. Their story would live on, sung by traveling bards for generations to come.